Kris here, Green Sabre. Welcome to Doom Telly, episode 43, and today it's competition time. Not from me, but this is one that I'm entering. So, yeah, no Green Sabre updates. Rehearsing away, we're sort of converting the rehearsal space as we speak at the minute into demoing space. We're going to start demoing the tracks to get them ready for recording in the early 2024, so January 2024 to be precise. So yeah, demoing has begun. So yeah, watch this space. But other than that, yeah, steady away. So no further gigs to report and so on. So that's a very quick look at that massively quick Green Sabre update. Okay, let's get to the meat and bones of today's video, and it is a competition entry for Marc G with a C. Shout out Marc G. Basically, he's reached 2,000 subscribers. 2,000. It's the stuff of a madman's dreams is 2,000. I mean, I'm quite happy we're at 143 now, something like that, which I'm made up with. But anyway, 2,000 will be great. And to congratulate Marc on his 2,000 richly deserved subscribers, I'm entering his competition. The competition is see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And basically, the parameters are... Okay, let me get ready. So, number one, see no evil. 2 albums where the artwork completes the experience as such. The artwork is so good that it enhances the listening experience. I could think of quite a lot for these, but I've gone with 2 that I can just think straight off the bat really do enhance it for me. There were a couple of others that I nearly went with, but I've noticed that a few of the entries so far I've ticked a couple off the list, so I'm not using them. But so I've gone with 2 different ones, which so far I've not seen. I'm sure these will be used at some point. So yeah, that's number 1. Number 2, Hear No Evil. 2 albums that I love that I will not have a bad word said about. That was an interesting one that I enjoyed doing that one. So quite a lot. The difficulty is picking some that have had some terrible press that I love. That I think that's the key component of this. Not just 2 albums that you love that non-metalers might not like and blah blah and stuff like that. Ones that got dreadful press or have had dreadful press in metal circles that I think are ace. So that's what I've gone with. And finally, Speak No Evil. 2 albums that are now in my collection that I discovered via Marc or, crucially, via other YouTube channels. So with this one, I'll explain it when I get there anyway. However, yeah, that was quite a toughie, was that one. So, but I got there in the end. So those are the parameters. There will be a link down below to Marc's original video, so please check that out if you haven't already done so. And get yourself entered into this competition. It was a great one. I really enjoyed it. So, look, 3 minutes in. Let's get going. So, part 1, See No Evil. 2 albums that I think the artwork enhanced the experience so much that it makes the record an 11 out of 10, and yeah, anyway. So, the first one I'm going to go with, and you'll have seen this on lots of videos previously, it is arguably my favourite album of all time, and that is because the artwork is such an integral part of that experience. It is, of course, Cathedral, with their debut album, Forest of Equilibrium. Not only is every song a banger on this record, the atmosphere created on it is just unrivaled. It's incredible. And the artwork is partly to do with that. And I will give you the full gatefold spread. There you are. And it is just the whole... Try not to get any glare. The whole experience, the androgynous warrior there that you see on both parts of it, walking through dark and light. And the atmosphere that this artwork builds is absolutely perfectly encapsulated within the music as well. It is just an entire 100% experience, and all round it's just fabulous, and I can't get enough of it. And like I say, possibly my favourite album of all time, some of my favourite metal artwork of all time as well. Just phenomenal. Dave Patchett, I believe the artist, did some incredible work back in these days. Almost every Cathedral covers Dave Patchett. He did some of the early, certainly the first Electric Wizard, amongst others. He's also credited, I don't think he wants to be credited either, for that abysmal bit of artwork on the front of the Iron Maiden album, that's name escapes me, but the Maiden album with dreadful artwork. which was Dave Patchett. Yeah. Dave Patchett didn't want it because that was just a concept that he saw, sort of proof of concept. And Steve Harris, I believe this is a story, Steve Harris thought, yeah, perfect, we'll use that. And he's like, but that's just a concept, it's not remotely finished. No, we're going to use that. And Dave Patchett wanted all ties with that artwork severed. Like, don't put my name to it. It's not finished, it's not complete. If you're going to get a proper artist like Dave Patchett in, let them finish their fucking work. Anyway, yeah. So that's my first choice. Cathedral's Forest of Equilibrium. Fantastic artwork. My second one, and I debated long and hard about whether I pick, speaking of Iron Maiden, I nearly picked Somewhere in Time. My favourite bit of Maiden artwork, just a massive, so many Easter eggs on the front of that great bit of artwork. But I saw it on another video, so I thought, right, I'll leave that one off because I've got others I can choose from. I nearly picked Dismembers Like an Ever-Flowing Stream. I nearly picked Altars of Madness, Entombed. Basically, to get some Dan Seagrave in there, but I didn't go with any Dan Seagrave, as it turned out. I went with this. Now, you'll be thinking, well, it's not very spectacular. The front cover isn't really, and there were reasons for this. That was the only image they were allowed to use, I believe, for the front image, because the actual artwork is so severe. Should we say that, yeah, they weren't allowed to use it as cover art, I believe, is the story. But anyway, Autopsies are Acts of the Unspeakable. The art that I'm on about is in the gatefold. I will give you a very brief sort of look through. Disclaimer on the video as well. But it's one of them that you can get lost in through all the horrors encapsulated. And again, the reason I've picked this is because it is the perfect marriage between art and audio and the music as such. Like, this artwork works perfectly with the horrible, dirty, ugly death metal contained within, and it's what Autopsy do best, and this is the artwork I think that works best with what they do, because it's fairly lo-fi compared. Like I say, I think I've mentioned this album on another video, and the artwork it's based on, I can't remember, I've been told loads of times and I keep forgetting, it's based on a bit of classic old artwork, the Garden of Earthly Delights, is it called, or something like that, and it's the hell portion of it as such, like that. This is definitely a nod to, but yeah, tremendous bit of artwork, tremendous album, encapsulates the music within perfectly, and just an all-round experience, and the same with that Cathedral one. So those are my choices for number one, See No Evil. My choices for number two, this one I enjoyed quite a lot. Hear No Evil. Two albums that I will not have a bad word spoken about, that I love, but were hugely, hugely criticised. And the first one I'm going to go with is this. Megadeth's So Far, So Good, So What. This still to this day gets battered by metal critics and people like that. Classic Megadeth's weakest album. It isn't. Killing Is My Business is classic Megadeth's weakest album by a mile. This is controversial, this is for me as good as Peace Sells. I enjoy this record just as much as Peace Sells. In fact, if I did a Megadeth ranking, I don't know where I'd put these two, it's that close. They'd be tied for second, basically. I love this. What I love about it is that it's my belief that Megadeth produced their best stuff when they were off the tits, basically, for a start off. So, yeah. And this is like the height of drugginess. I think they were all smacked out of their minds when they were recording this one. If you've read the Dave Mustaine autobiography, yeah, they were not in a good place on this album. Yes, there is a fairly awful cover version of Anarchy in the UK on here. Never cover Sex Pistols songs. It never ends well. That's just a mild disclaimer though. But besides that song, every other track on here is a banger. And what I love about it is, for me, it's my favourite album of Dave Mustaine's voice. I've mentioned this again on previous videos. I sort of can't abide Dave Mustaine's singing voice. It grates on me. It's just not a nice sound. It's best on here though. There's a kind of anger, there's an aggression to his voice on here that you don't hear on either Rust in Peace. You might hear on bits on Peace Sells, but certainly all that shite they did after Rust in Peace, like Countdown and Euthanasia, and just it got worse and worse after that, and his voice got worse and worse. And this is peak Mustaine voice for me. This is where he nails it. 10 out of 10. Angry, aggression. You can tell they're in an angry place on this record, and it comes across. It gets battered like the drummer's shit. The guitarist in it has got... It's a brilliant album. There are so many classics on here. One of the greatest opening tracks of all time in metal circles is on here. Into the Lungs of Hell. Brilliant. Then it goes into Set the World Afire. Then you've got that dreadful cover version. Then you've got Mary Jane. Then 502. Then In My Darkest Hour. Liar, Hook in Mouth. They are all brilliant. Just skip past the cover. And the cover version isn't dreadful, because at least it's got Steve Jones doing the solo on it, so you can have that. It's better than I Ain't Superstitious on Peace Sells, which is just a brain fart for allowing that to be on a record. But anyway, so yeah, that's my first choice for Hear No Evil, because I love this record, and it gets a bad press, undeservedly so, because it's great, and that's scientific fact, like I say. Okay, my next one. I suppose technically it's not this album that gets all the bad press, it's the band as a whole. But I think this album is a 10 out of 10 classic. It is Ghost. Yes, this is, I'll show this off, it's a repress. It's a Rise Above repress on like a swanky green, black, white, marbly kind of thing. This is Ghost's finest hour. Of that there's no denying. The bad press is that Ghosts get called like sort of ABBA with metal riffs in it and stuff like that, and they are incredibly cheesy. They look, to the untrained eye, they look like a black metal band. They do not sound like one. And I think a lot of people's problem is that what they hear is not what they see. The artwork on this first one's tremendous as well. Definitely sort of homage to Salem's Lot there, with the, you know, the looming spectre in the background over the house. But the music within is brilliant. There's some classic sort of Sabbath-style riffs, even a bit of Blue Oyster Cult thrown in there in places, I'd say. His voice is his voice, whether you like it or not. But this is a 10 out of 10 record. It's brilliant. And I think Ghost unfairly got battered for this one, because this is their finest hour. Their next album, Infestissima, whatever it's called anyway, the second one, is a cracker. A brilliant one. Not as good as this. The third album, Meliora, ain't bad. It's not as good as Infestissima or whatever it is. And it certainly ain't as good as this. And that is, if you were to do a Ghost ranking, for me, it would be very easy. Start with the early stuff that's bordering on terrible, and just, it would be in date order, ascending, as such like that. Anyway, Ghost's finest hour, a great album. If you've not listened to Ghost because you've been just put off by all the shit talk about them and stuff like that, and they're not as bad as a lot of people say. Their modern stuff is thinly veiled pop music, there's no denying that. But this is a great one. Listen to this first album, because that's where all the good stuff is. And there's some, like, you know, deep cuts on here that are really good. I'm thinking of Death Knell. That's a great song. What's the other one that I really like? I mean, Ritual, you know about, and so on. Prime Mover. Is it Genesis, the last one? Anyway, whichever one it is. Cracking album. And I won't hear a bad word said about it. Okay. On to part 3. This one was difficult because I really wanted to fulfill the brief exactly. And the question was, 2 albums that I now own in my collection that I discovered via Marc's channel, or brackets, or via another YouTube channel. And I had to go with physical evidence of others. Marc G, though, has influenced me to stuff, but I've just realised the stuff that he's influenced me on, I don't own physical copies of. I own digital copies of, but there's no, and I wanted a physical copy, so I'll just very quickly mention Coffin Mulch. I wouldn't know about without Marc G, so hats off, because that was a great discovery. I've only got a digital copy of the last 2, but I'll just insert the latest album. Belter. Thank you, Marc. And another album, a band called Rot Pit, I believe. Insert image here. Again, only got a digital copy of it. I've not got any physical media. Another great discovery of Marc, so thank you. Yeah, really enjoyed that. And I will at some point get some physical media in, but because I wanted to have physical for this video, here goes. My first choice isn't any particular YouTuber in particular. it's virtually fucking all of you. And I say that because there was so much talk about this band that I can't remember who it was, because every bastard one of you banged on about how great this band were. I thought, they can't be that good, surely. And whether they warrant being in the annals of one of the greatest new finds of all time, I would argue, but they are magnificent. The band I'm talking about is Hellripper. And here's the latest CD, which is definitely going to be in one of my albums of the year. It's a spectacular bit of work. It's brilliant. Kind of black and thrash, if you will. There's more of a thrash element to it. There's some real musical chops on here as well. He's got a live touring band, but I believe he's a one-man project for the most part of it. But thanks to all of you. I genuinely can't remember who it was that made me... I suppose I should have picked the person that made me think, all right, I'm going to go out and see what all the fucking fuss is about. I can't remember who it was, but you pretty much all banged on about this, including Mark, I think, as well. So anyway, yeah, Hellripper is my first nod. Thank you for the discovery, guys. My second one, and it's a shout out to Altars of Madness, who I've discovered a lot of obscure black metal via. And this was one of them. And this, at the minute, spoiler alert, might be my album of the year. Now, I would say, disclaimer, it might not necessarily... I think it was 2, the second one, that he convinced me to go out to buy, and I've been hooked ever since. But this one come out, and it was definitely off of his recommendation that I bought this. So, it is Swiss black metal giants, Aura. And this is the latest album, Triad 3, Nyx. Absolute bludgeon of a record. Female front vocals, I think, so they're very screechy, but really, really work with the music perfectly. A sensational band with sensational... That's the digipack cover, slightly different to the actual album artwork. I want these all on vinyl at some point, because the whole Triad trilogy is breathtakingly good. It's magnificent. There isn't a bad record. 1, 2, 3, they're all great. Which is my favourite? I don't know, because they all work brilliantly together. But a magnificent find. So thank you, Altars of Madness, for mentioning this band, because I wouldn't know about them without you. So and like I say, this is fast becoming my album of the year. I've rarely not played it since buying it. It's always on the headphones as part of a fucking playlist or whatever it is. But yeah, so that is my entry to Marc G with a C's 2,000 subscribers competition. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. A great competition to do, and a worthy competition for a much deserved 2,000 subscribers. Well done, Marc. Great stuff. Yeah, right, I'm going to wrap it up. Look, under 20 minutes. Fantastic for me is this. So that's my entry. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for liking. Thanks for subscribing. If you've not liked and subscribed, please do so. It's all very useful. And I'd love to see more entries on this, so I'm going to troll YouTube and see what else is out there. I think next week's video is going to be another competition as well, but stay tuned. I think it's for Analog Archives I'm going to be doing that one for. But anyway, another 2,000 subscriber, if I believe. Thanks for watching. I enjoyed doing that. Wish me luck in the competition, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you. See you later.